PharmaPal.
You're listening to Bloomscast, the official podcast of Blooms.io, home of the bioactive library for mass spectrometry instant optimization. Let's dive into the latest in natural chemistry, bioactive discovery, and the future of lab innovation.
Just looking through the list of plants in this chapter, it's kind of amazing, the sheer variety.
It really is.
All the reported uses. It just makes you think, doesn't it?
Yes.
How long people have been, interacting with nature for health.
For centuries, millennia even.
Yeah.
Okay, so where should we start?
Let's start with Kalanchoe laciniata. Sounds interesting.
Okay, so Kalanchoe laciniata, the book describes it as pretty resilient. It's a drought-resistant herb.
Right, somewhat woody at the base, you said, and perennial.
Yeah, perennial, so it comes back year after year. Grows about 30 to 65 centimeters, maybe up to a meter sometimes. So roughly a foot to 2 feet, sometimes taller.
And the leaves, what are they like?
They're described as simple, oval-shaped, or maybe elliptical, and succulent, quite fleshy.
Ah, hence the drought resistance.
Exactly. And the edges are crenate, meaning sort of scalloped or toothed.
Got it. Flowers.
Yellow-orange flowers. They grow in these clusters. Composite summits, or panicles is the technical term, basically branching clusters.
Okay, and then it produces fruit.
Yep. A follicle, about 6 centimeters long. Inside, you find these small, brown, oblong seeds. It's a really neat example of a plant adapted to dry conditions.
Definitely shows nature's ingenuity. Okay, next up, Carissa spinorum. The name spinorum kind of gives a clue, maybe.
Yeah, it does. It suggests spines. And that's right. This one's a small evergreen shrub.
Evergreen, so it keeps its leaves all year.
Correct. And it's got spines.
Yeah.
Typically found in tropical deciduous forests, those forests that lose their leaves seasonally. It usually grows about, say, 1 to 1.5 meters tall.
So 3 to 5 feet, roughly. And where's it from originally? The book mentioned quite a range.
Yeah, it's native to parts of Africa, Indochina, Australia, even out to New Caledonia. But it's pretty widely distributed globally now.
Okay. What about its leaves and those spines?
The leaves are described as somewhat leathery. Shape-wise, they can be ovate, elliptic, or almost round, usually a bit darker green on the top surface.
Size?
Generally around, 1.7 to almost 7 centimeters long, and 1 to nearly 5 centimeters wide. So roughly an inch or two long, maybe a bit more.
And the spines, the spiniarmum part.
Ah, yes, the spines. They can be simple or sometimes forked. And they can get pretty long, anywhere from less than half a centimeter up to 7 centimeters.
Wow, nearly 3 inches.
Yeah, definitely noticeable. But interestingly, it also has these sweetly scented flowers.
Oh, really? Despite the thorns?
Yeah, the base of the flower, the calycix, is small with these pointed lobes, but the main part, the corolla, is trumpet-shaped and, more prominent, about 9.5 to 20 millimeters long.
So tough, but also has a delicate side.
You could say that, a good mix.
All right. Moving on to a tree now. Albizia schemperiana. This sounds like it might be quite a big one.
It certainly can be. Albizia schemperiana is known as the forest longpod albizia. It's deciduous, so it loses its leaves.
But the description says it has an evergreen-like canopy. How does that work?
Well, it has this really broad, flattened, almost umbrella-shaped canopy. So even though it is deciduous, it often looks quite full and dense. It can grow really tall to up to 30 or 35 meters.
Wow, over 100 feet. And it's found in tropical Africa.
That's right. And it's a legume.
Ah, so it fixes nitrogen in the soil like beans or peas?
Exactly. It works with specific bacteria, Rhedozobium, to do that for the soil. And apparently it's pretty easy to grow from seed.
Interesting. What about the bark and leaves?
The bark can be either smooth and gray or sometimes rough and brown. The leaves are quite intricate. They're compound leaves.
Meaning
they have a central stem, the rachis, which is kind of hairy. Then branching off that, you have several pairs of smaller stems called pinnae.
Okay.
And on those pinnae, you have lots of tiny little leaflets, about 6 to 21, maybe 23 pairs per pinna.
Wow, that's complex. And the leaflets themselves?
They're variable in shape, sometimes oblong, sometimes more pointed or rounded at the tip. They're hairy, paler underneath, but shiny dark green on top. And quite small, less than 2 centimeters long each.
So tiny leaflets on this potentially huge tree, and flowers.
Lots of white flowers grouped together in these round, ball-like heads.
And the long pod part of the name.
Ah, yes, the fruit. It produces these large clusters of dull brown pods, often around 25 centimeters long and 3.5 centimeters wide, but they can get even bigger. up to maybe 34 by 6 centimeters.
Those are long pods.
And eventually they split open to release the seeds.
Okay, but here's the really fascinating part I saw mentioned. The traditional use.
Right. This is key. The stem bark.
Yeah, the stem bark is traditionally used to treat infections, right? Bacterial and parasitic ones, like malaria, pneumonia.
Exactly. And also fever and pain. And the book actually cites a specific study on this.
Yeah, Samoilenko et al., 2009. That's a direct link, isn't it? Traditional practice pointing towards something science can investigate.
Absolutely. It suggests compounds in the bark might really have antimicrobial or analgesic effects. That's incredibly relevant, especially now with concerns about drug resistance.
It really makes you think about the value embedded in that traditional knowledge.
For sure.
Now, the book also has this table 1.3. It lists more plants, their traditional uses, and some of the bioactive compounds found in them. Should we look at a few more?
Yeah, that's a good idea. It gives a broader picture.
Yeah.
So, looking at Albizia schimpeeriana again in the table.
Right, it says the leaves contain alkaloids, saponins, tannins, flavonoids.
All classes of compounds known for biological activity. And it adds another traditional use, treating certain cancers, breast, intestinal, skin. Cites a 2018 source for that.
Wow. Okay, what else? Annona muricata, prickly custard apple, or soursop.
Fruits and leaves contain anonicin. Traditional use listed, breast cancer and malaria treatment. That cites a 2020 paper.
Interesting. Then there's Bombax ceiba, the cotton tree.
Bark, gum, root, they contain polyphenols like phenolic acids, tannins, flavonoids. Traditional uses mentioned are as an emetic, something to induce vomiting, and as a styptic, to stop bleeding in metrorrhagia. Cites 2016.
Ambrusa antidysenterica, the name itself.
Tells a story, doesn't it? Aerial parts contain brucelides, like brucin. Traditionally used for tonsillitis and stomachache. That references 2017 and 2021 studies.
It's amazing how these uses often connect to specific compound types. Like you see tannins often linked to stopping bleeding or alkaloids with strong effects.
Exactly. It hints at a deep empirical understanding built up over time. Let's see, Syzygium guineates woodland waterberry.
Leaves, roots, fruits, stem bark all contain flavonoids and used for bacterial and fungal infections, diarrhea, wounds, cites 2017.
Makes sense. Flavonoids often have antimicrobial properties. Then there's Haplocarpa ruapelli, just says the leaf is used to stop bleeding. Very direct. Also 2017.
Simple and to the point. What about Hornia macrocarpa?
It's latex. The milky sap has phenolic compounds, terpenes, alkaloids, a real mix. But the table doesn't list a specific traditional use here.
Maybe it wasn't recorded, or maybe it wasn't used medicinally in the same way.
Could be. Highlights that there's still potentially more to learn or uncover. Then you have the Rumex species. Rumex nervosus, Nepal dock.
Right, and Rumex nepalensis. These seem to have a lot of uses listed.
They really do. For Rumex nervosus, purgative, anti-tumor, anti-inflammatory, treating dislocated bones, wounds, pimples, ringworm, even colon and skin cancer, stomachache, toothache, tonsillitis. The list goes on. Rabies even.
Wow. And Rumex nepalensis also mentioned for cancer breast, skin, cervical, and malaria.
And both are packed with compounds. Alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenoids, tannins, anthracanones, naphthalenes. Just a whole pharmacy in there.
It really suggests these were important plants in traditional medicine.
Definitely. Then we have Guttagus, Oxycantha hawthorn. Berries, flowers, leaves, bark, containing flavonoids, vitamin C, saponins. Traditional use, cancer treatment, citing 2020 sources.
And Justicia schimpeeriana.
Water willow. Root and leaves have alkaloids, lignans, flavonoids, terpenoids, again, those recurring compound classes.
Yeah, you see alkaloids and flavonoids pop up again and again.
And finally, maybe Osmum lamifolium. Leaves have essential oils used for headache and fever. And Phoenix reclinata, the wild date palm root, with flavonoids, steroids, terpenoids.
So, looking across this list, it's striking, isn't it? How many of these traditional uses are for things like infections, inflammation, pain, even cancer? Areas modern medicine is still very focused on.
Absolutely. It's like, traditional knowledge systems identified plants with real biological activity relevant to major health concerns.
It almost feels like they left us clues.
That's a good way to put it. The presence of all these bioactive compounds, alkaloids, flavonoids, terpenoids, tannins, and so on, it strongly suggests a chemical basis for those traditional uses. It's frankly fascinating how this traditional wisdom often seems to anticipate or point towards avenues for modern scientific exploration.
It really deepens your respect for that long history of observation and practice.
It does, but we also have to be careful.
Right, this is important.
Yeah. While these traditional uses and preliminary findings are incredibly intriguing, they're often just starting points. We need rigorous scientific research to really understand how these plants work, if they're truly effective for specific conditions, and critically, if they're safe.
Absolutely. So just to be clear for everyone listening, especially we're exploring potential here, looking at traditional knowledge and initial scientific hints. We're not making any medical claims or giving advice.
Precisely. Our goal is really to help you make that connection, to see how a traditional use might relate to a plant's chemistry, giving you that aha moment, and a quicker understanding of why these plants are so interesting.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. We've journeyed through a few specific plants, Kalanchoe, Carissa, Albizia, and then broadened out with that table, looking at their features and, importantly, their traditional uses.
And we saw how often those uses seem connected to the kinds of bioactive compounds scientists are interested in today. It's a snapshot of that rich history between people and plants for well-being.
Yeah, a really long and ongoing relationship.
Which leads to maybe a final thought for you to ponder. Given this incredibly long history of people using these plants, what other traditional uses, maybe less documented or understood, might still hold valuable clues for medicine today?
That's interesting.
And perhaps just as vital, how do we approach learning from this knowledge ethically? How can we explore it respectfully and sustainably, ensuring that any benefits are shared fairly and can contribute to well-being now?
That's a really important question to carry forward. So we hope this has sparked your curiosity. Maybe one particular plant or use caught your attention. If so, the scientific literature is out there for you to explore further.
Thanks for tuning in to Bloom's Cast, brought to you by blooms.io. Stay curious, stay connected, and we'll see you next time on the frontier of natural product innovation.
PharmaPal.